Welcome to the MMHP in the 989. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history from the city by the bay. And now, here's your host, Scott Baker.
He bought it from Shields.
Yeah, he bought it from Shields on Raymond Street.
Right. And then he moved it out to Saginaw Bay. He had his own...
oh, wow.
You know, Lipinski's got kind of an interesting story. When he went in the Army, he did his basic training at Fort Hood. At the same time, Elvis was there. And Elvis used to, every once in a, you know, he got permission to live off base. Right. So his parents came down there. And he would periodically invite guys that played music to come to his house for jam sessions on the weekend. And Lipinski, according to what he wrote his family, he was invited and he went and jammed with Elvis at his family, you know, the rented home near Fort Hood.
On that drive, too, there's two pictures of Elvis in the Army. These are original pictures. I have the originals. Linda's first husband, Gary, was in the service, and he was there before he went to Vietnam. But his buddy, I don't know who the guy's name is, but he was standing with Elvis by a Jeep, and Elvis let him take a picture with Elvis.
Well, good. I'm doing my second Elvis class at SVSU, and I kind of divided it into two parts. And the first part went up to his induction, and the second part's going to cover the Army years until his death. Yeah, those pictures I might use in the PowerPoint.
You have my permission.
Yeah, well, thank you. That'll be great.
I stopped at the museum today.
Oh, also, there's pictures of Elvis in with my aunt's stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some of his. There's Danny Thomas, Elvis, Faron, all together. Oh, God, I can't think of the actor. There's two actresses on them, too.
Lauren, or not Lauren Bacall.
No.
Rita Hayworth. I think.
Rita Hayworth's one of them. And,
really?
Yeah.
With Elvis? She's in a picture with Elvis?
Well,
she's in a picture.
She's in a picture. She might not be in the one with Elvis, but...
There's some actors.
There's some other ones in that. They're all in there, so you can
man.
use whatever you want.
Yeah, that sounds really great.
Like I said, if you want to copy them and keep them for your files, that's fine.
Okay.
You know? If I can get away with copying the thing out of the Times, or get the Times to relinquish another copy.
Well, the Times, there's a story about your aunt?
No, that's the one about Tom Bert.
Oh,
the one that you have up there?
Yeah, the one I have up there.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That's cool. That's 97, it says.
Yeah. So they got to have it somewhere in their files or something.
Okay.
You might be able to get a copy for a little bit of money.
Yeah, they transferred all their files to the museum, but, you know, nothing is organized.
No.
So I don't know how many years it's going to be to, you know, get that, you know, because they don't even have a person there working on it. So it's just stored.
See, I've donated tons of stuff to the museum. You know, like old ledgers. I got one from the ice house from the 1900s. You know, that told everything that was in there, the horses, the stable, what they did, the ice they brought up from the river. I've got one that I haven't given them yet from Bentley grocery store. And it's from 1904 to 1907. It's about this thick. And it's a handwritten ledger of all the people that bought stuff, had on credit, brought stuff in like eggs or sold cows to be butchered, stuff like that.
Man. Unreal.
He's got a book collection of Michigan histories.
Over 200.
Yeah, it's just like a whole wall.
Really?
Everything in Michigan you can think of, that historic book.
I just finished reading the 1880 edition of Old Mackinac. And a lot of things I didn't realize in there. How the Indians always thought there were fairies on the island and in the caves. Never even knew there was caves up there.
No, me neither.
There's all kinds of... How when Marquette died, that a year after he died, the Indians took his bones, boiled them out, and then took them up to Mackinac and reburied them. So I didn't know.
Oh, jeez.
It was, but my grandmother got me into history, so.
Well, it's a good thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I love it.
oh,
So you said you went to the museum, right?
Yeah.
So what
Well,
was-
I went there to
anything going
see
on?
if I sold any books,
Oh, okay.
and so I went
Yeah.
upstairs.
Hello. Okay.
now what do?
Come on over this side. You're gonna use that
And,
microphone and those cans right there.
Are there a couple?
You're gonna
things
sit
different?
back. Why don't you put a pillow
There were
behind
like
you?
4
It pushes you
women
forward a little bit.
Okay.
There's a pillow right next
Well,
to you.
we're in the process of
Stay like this.
That's fine. You'll hear it. Your
putting
voice.
Rick
yours-
Springfield stuff up
That's
there
what
from the
Sam
big
did.
concert.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of looking around to maybe expand it to another wall space upstairs. We're going to frame that poster that Dennis Lauren did, and that's going to go up in the main hallway. And I've kind of been talking to some bands from the UP. You know, the XLs are one of them. With Clark Sullivan, I talked to Clark when he came on the show. You know, he said he might have had some memorabilia. So we're thinking about maybe doing something on UP rock and roll.
Cool.
So there's some bands that are in the Hall of Fame, the Galaxies, the XLs, the Riot Squad, and I just was contacted by another guy who's in a band called Walrus. You know, I'm sure. I don't know if they named it after I Am the Walrus from the Beatles, or I'll find out more about that. But supposedly he's got some things, so and some contacts with some other bands. You might remember Clark mentioned the Rhythm Rockers. There was the Kinetics up there. You know, these are all bands that, you know, people, you know, if they played in the Lower Peninsula, it was probably places like, you know, Traverse City and so on. I think the XLs were the only ones that, you know, came down and you know, they had that connection with Ollie McLaughlin and, you know, Carla Records. So they played the Blue Light, and they played Band Canyon and Daniel's Den. They were regulars at Daniel's Den. So I don't know. Those a couple things that we've got in the wind. We'll just see what happens.
So how did the Rolling Stones ever? Didn't they have like a guitar tech?
Yeah.
Lived in Marquette.
Was it Chutch McGee?
I don't know his
Yeah,
name,
he
but-
was, you know, and very close to the band. The Stones chartered a jet and came to his funeral, and they performed Amazing Grace.
Oh.
Wow.
You imagine that?
What year?
Wow.
What year?
That's crazy.
Chutch McGee, I'm going to say it might have been in the 90s.
Oh, well. Wow.
And
Wow.
wow. Hear the Rolling Stones
Yeah.
do Amazing Grace.
Oh my Lord.
I think it was just done. Probably Jagger was playing harmonica and the other guys on guitar. And
Well, I saw some. Not to say that this is the same, but they would have that new series on Hulu or whatever it is. There's a Stone series out.
oh, yeah. Well, it was on Epix.
Okay, whatever it is. I saw the first episode with Jagger, and they
Yeah.
show the funeral for Brian Jones, and they played that too.
Yeah, was that
Yeah.
that was that famous? What was it? The performance at Hyde Park, probably.
That way, right after that, that was like the Bang Bang. Those were really
Okay,
right
yeah.
back to back. Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty cool. I'd like to see the rest of that series.
Well, yeah,
because-
they do one on Keith, one on Ron Wood, and one on Charlie.
and
Watts.
then the Mick one did have snippets from the other ones in there, but you could tell they each had their own too coming up.
Yeah,
So
well, I've been kind of anxiously awaiting that one.
that's cool. Yeah, I thought it would show me the whole thing, but it only let you preview by seeing one episode. So I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'd like to just
Prime
see
Video
one.
or whatever the hell it was, Showtime or I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, we're back here at Studio 163. We got the whole cast and crew here. We are coming down from the Hell's Half Mile events from this year in 2022. We've kicked off our third season with the podcast. We are rolling into our third year, and we've already got a whole list of people that we have on tap and already in the can as well coming out. And I want to see what's up with Dr. J, because he's got the Hall of Fame we're promoting now. That's right around the block. How's the Hall of Fame going?
Well, it's going great. We were kicking around some things before the show started, and I'll just mention that We're going to have a display of Rick Springfield. He gave us an autographed guitar from his show at Winona Park, which was the biggest paying crowd ever in the history of Winona Park. And I've got a few other things, in the fire for the Hall of Fame. So it's going to be an ongoing project, trying to put some new things in periodically. And also I should mention, we formed a partnership with the Delta Planetarium, and our first collaboration is going to be, I think, right now in February of 2023. We're going to show Smelly Little Town, the award-winning documentary about Bay City and Madonna, and it's going to be a little bit of a Madonna festival.
Oh, cool.
At the planetarium. So we'll have more information about that as the details get worked out.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's the planetarium is fantastic. They had a full dome experience on Hell's Half Mile, and if you see anything in the planetarium where they're going to do a full dome presentation, it is very worth your while to go in there. It's phenomenal to see. There's all these, I don't know how to describe them, all kinds of designs, some of them very psychedelic, but just to kick back and see that in the big dome, it is quite an experience.
Wow.
Quite a visual experience. So
sweet.
Break out the gummies, go to the planetarium.
That leads us right to the gummy master. Sir Fred, how you doing? How you doing, Freddie?
Oh, I'm doing real good.
What's going on in your world?
Well, just out and about looking for records every day.
Anything new?
Nope.
Nothing new lately, just writing your book?
Well, working on it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be close?
Well, it's pretty close. It's just
good.
Putting it all together.
Oh, good. Good. That's better than still writing and every month. So.
Well, I give up. There's really, I don't know of any more info I could add. So I'm just trying now to put it together, and then I'll send it to my friend in Chicago who will edit it for me.
Well, wonderful. That's cool. Nice having an editor.
He did the last one.
Good. Good. Mike Beatty's in the house. Mike's been tripping around to all the concerts. How's things going? You saw Fripp the other night, huh?
Yep.
Fripp in Detroit.
Just an interview, which was very cool.
Mike, bring your mic. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got busted taping them, which is beautiful.
I did, yeah.
Our archivist getting in trouble by the guy that hates archiving. Yeah, we love this. This is the best of the best right here, because Robert Fripp is the anti for photography.
Oh, is he? I did not.
Oh, he's number one in the world of you do not tape or anything. Yeah. So it was when you told me this story coming in here, I'm like, this is great because you are pro. He is con, and he politely told you to put it away. So.
Well, I'm learning I have to cover the little flashing red light. From the stage, I was in the front row, he says, "Excuse me, sir, what is the little flashing red light?" And I said, in an English accent, "It's a camera." And he said, "Well, can you please, the protocol is at the end of the show you can take pictures. Please shut it off." I shall. No, I did not know he was that.
Oh, he's the poster child of do not bring cameras to my show.
That's pretty good English accent there, Mike.
He just didn't smash it or confiscate it.
Have his manager, since the manager and him were the two features
and
that
the
night.
Security guy who came over, he's got a mohawk and he's just a big bruiser. And he said, "Put it away." I said, "Yes, sir."
Wonderful.
Anyway, that was funny. Yeah.
You've been to a lot of great shows, and you also hosted bands for Hell's Half Mile. How did that go for you?
Oh, phenomenal! Yeah? I want to do more stuff there. Yep. Yeah. Just got to figure out how it can be sustainable.
Yes. So bands, if you're looking to put a show on in Bay County that's different, to contact our Mike Beatty here on the cast. Mr. Mike knows and has the Dunlop Center that between the one-ways coming into town, and it could be turning into one of the most fantastic venues if it's done right, if we can continue it here.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, the concert sure went well at Hell's Half Mile.
Yeah.
That was really a lot of fun.
Well attended. I was impressed.
Yeah.
And different music, different nights. Michigan vibes. Totally Michigan vibes in that one band. Like MC5 feels. Sugar
Tradition.
Sugar Tradition. Wow.
They opened for Jack White in the spring at the Masonic.
That's what they were saying. He said, actually, the show was on cassette for sale. He said, these are off the board from the Jack White show.
Oh, no shit.
On cassette. Yeah, that's all you only. He said, we're going to eventually Bandcamp it, but for now, we're just selling it on tape only. And,
I did not see that.
He had it hidden behind his little stand. He asked me if I wanted to buy him. I'm like, I don't really use a cassette player anymore. I mean, I got one, but
I still use mine.
Yeah, I don't know if I
got 78s cassettes.
I was looking for Fred, but Fred left when all the good times started. So I was like, Fred's got a tape player sitting in the living room. I hooked it up for him. So we got a real special guest right up Mr. Fred's alley here because all this archiving and stuff and all the back history. We got Lane Valliere in the house. How you doing, Lane?
Good, good, good.
Lane is not only a big-time member of classic rock in the mid-Michigan area, but he's also gone on to Michigan history things, as well as TV5, as well as archiving Tom Bert's photography, as well as a story that he's going to share with us, some family history story that just will blow people's minds with the photography. And he's letting Gary and Fred here take some copies of them so we can use them on the website. But how's life going, Lane? You got to jam with me this summer briefly. How's things been?
Good, good. Healthy other than a little sinus because of the weather change.
Yeah, this weather change knocking everybody around on that whole thing. So take us back to Bay County in your early years. What got you on the music scene? What put you on the map for that?
Well, my mother played Hawaiian guitar, and I liked that. And then I started taking drum lessons when I was a little kid. Switched over to piano because I wasn't one for doing lessons. I didn't like doing the notes and learning that. And from there, my cousin, when the band that I played in was the Shades of Night in high school, and we played anywhere from Alpena all the way out in the Thumb and different things. A lot of colleges and things like that, Delta, Kirtland Community College, high school dances, we were big in it, but it was all top 40. Mm-hmm. And after so many years, I got tired of top 40.
What year were the Shades of Night in existence?
It was when I was like 10 years old, and they were 1 to 2 years younger than me, and we started out, and we went up until I was 17 when I graduated high school, and they were right behind me.
Would that have been in the early 60s?
Late 60s. I graduated in 69.
Okay.
So this is the band where you played the teen nightclubs?
Yeah, played all the teen nightclubs, Daniel's Den, Establishment in Midland, Blue Light. Well, Daniel's Den was with Tim and the Blues Company. And,
did you play Band Canyon?
Yeah, we played Band Canyon there. We opened for the Lemon Pipers, as a matter of fact. And I think I was maybe 13, 14. We thought that was the coolest thing under the sun. You know?
Wow.
And anybody that remembers Band Canyon back there, they do every once in a while they do that weekend thing where all the Michigan groups would come in. You'd have SRC, MC5, you know, and all the ones in this whole area come in there, and they do a whole weekend. And once we'd open up for a couple of them. I think we opened up while MC5 was playing one time, and then, you know, typical question mark and Mysterians. I remember going out and talking to Frankie and Bobby and everything like that. But
you guys were young for that. I mean,
yeah, we were. As a matter of fact, we were so young, but we got. I really don't know how we got the gigs because we didn't have a manager. But people would call us from Sebring. Can you come play at our high school? Can you come from Whittemore Press?
How did the word get around for kids like that?
I have no clue, to be honest with you. Other than we did play the Battle of the Bands. We came in second. Cherry Slush beat us. Dick and the boys beat us and that stuff. But it was all word of mouth. We played Coleman High School. You know, all the little high schools around here we played. And we'd play at the VFW Hall.
Who drove you guys to these?
We didn't even drive. Chris Eiler, who was the mainstay of the band and the singer and would learn the songs, and then we'd learn from him. His dad drove us. We bought a trailer with the Shades of Night on it and all that stuff. It was my phone number and their phone number. And in high school, I took print shops, so I printed up all the cards.
Oh.
In that. So anyway, long story short, we had a lot of fun, and we did very well. You know, it was a 5-piece band and that. And we were making back then $250 for a school dance, which wasn't bad for a night for $50 screwing around and having fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's better than any job you could get.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, you'd be lucky if you make $2 an hour, you know, as a kid.
Yeah, that's
you know.
very true.
In fact, I don't think there were many jobs you could even make $2 an hour.
My first job, $1.63.
Yeah, and I think I worked as a carryout at Ray's Food Fair and stocking shelves, and I don't think I ever made $2 an hour when I was working there.
$1.25.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I started out, well, I had a paper route, and then I started out, and I worked at Englehart's Dairy, and luckily I knew the family, and he would let me off on the weekends when we had to play.
Wow.
So and that started out at $1.10. I think when I left was $2.10.
Wow.
But that was 4 years of high school, but it was perfectly fine as long as he let me off to play. So
Lane, did the Shades of Night record a 45?
nope.
Oh, that's too bad.
The band was really good, okay? You had some really good guys. Chris was a heck of a singer. And we were, like I said, we were really pretty good. And we kept getting the jobs and going. And I don't know if you remember the place up in Rose City, the big barn that you used to play in. That guy loved us. He booked us. He said, whenever you guys come up here, I can guarantee there's 400 to 450 kids here.
Wow.
In that. And that place was huge. So he tried to get us in there every couple of months when we weren't playing someplace. So the one night we came down, we played up at Alpena College. And none of us could drive. So I got one of the guys was Bill Kleinert, who took over as our manager, and Terry Borneman, who helped too. And they both drove cars, so they took us up with the equipment, come back. So we had to go back to Rose City that night, because we weren't going to stay there. We were just going to sleep in the car, like a lot of bands did. And we hit a snowstorm. And the snow was this high, couldn't see nothing, so they pulled off the side of the road, which probably was the dumbest idea you ever thought of back then. But I don't think there was that many cars on the road. So we got 5 guys in the car. Terry's driving. This is a 63 Le Mans convertible. Colder than crap. 3 guys in the back and the 2 in the front. So we're all sitting there shivering, and he'd start the car every so often and that. And get back, and the next thing we know, we're waking up. The drummers had to take a leak. He's out standing on the hood of the car, taking a leak on the road. No cars around, but so we all woke up and decided we were going to drive down to Rose City. So we did. We get in there, and we were early, and we got a hold of the guy, and he said, well, come on out to our cabin and that, blah, blah, blah. So we went out there, treated us like royalty, and then let us in early to warm up and get the equipment in there to warm up. But it was a lot of fun.
Do you have any photos that you can share with us for the page?
I wish I had photos of that. Back there, like I said,
Yeah,
we were kids. We weren't thinking of that. I'm sure somebody's taken some photos somewhere.
Interesting.
But, you know.
Well, it's hard to get photos from those days because you had to bring a camera with you. You know, who wanted to drag a camera around when you're going to one of these teen clubs and, you know, hanging with your friends and dancing or whatever. It was, you know, it was a cumbersome.
Nobody thought of that. They were there to have fun, to dance, and just have a good time. It was just like, I don't know how many proms we played for and that stuff, because they wanted somebody that played the top 40 music.
Yeah.
And that played it well. So we were...
Do you remember the songs, some of the songs you played back in those days?
We used to play everything from Sky Pilot to, give me a second to think of some of the other ones. Gloria, you know, all those standards that were back there during that era. You know?
Well, that's how a band was judged back in those days. Yeah. Really, how well could you duplicate the hits of the day?
The best one we ever played was... We always loved playing this up in Rose City. We would play Inagata Davida, the long version.
Wow.
We played that to end a set, if we were kind of getting tired. And that way the drummer got his little solo in, the organ player got his solo in, I did an amp solo. I was running a custom 400, the big cabinet, with all the little effects on it. So I would just get close to it and let it start tweaking a little bit and feedbacking, and we'd go like that, and then we'd get back into the song. But that's the way we'd end the set, you know, good 20 minutes doing that.
Nice.
And everybody would stand around, they loved it. They didn't dance to it, but they just loved it and watched. You know, all the heads were bobbing and having fun. So it was worth it.
So how did you come upon Timmy Ward, Ides of March, and the Blues Company and all that?
Well, Gary probably knows. Back then, there was a lot of local bands here. Okay, there was House of Commons, you know, and just a ton of good bands. James Bradley Review, trying to come up with a couple off the top of my head. I can't think of the other ones right now. I had them all listed before, but anyway, we were playing. There was a concert in Winona Park on a Friday night, and they booked all the bands to come play for free. So there was like 5 bands down there. So we played, and Tim I think started it out. I think that's when it was either She's Gone came out, and that was getting a lot of airplay. And him and Ham and Tom played, and then they took off, and then there was like 3 stages. So everybody was setting up like doing this. So after we played, we were tearing down and taking stuff down, and Tim and Ham come up to me. And Ham was a big guy. I mean, he was 300 plus pounds. But he was the best drummer in the world and everything. And it was just like, Tim comes up and he says, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah." I thought he just wanted to BS about stuff or do something. And he says, "I got a question for you." He says, "What do you think of coming and joining the Blues Company?" I kind of looked at him like, "Are you crapping me or what?" You know. I says, "Well," I says, "I'll think about it." But I says, "I'd have to check with the guys first," because I says, and I told Tim flat out, I said, "I am just sick of playing top 40 music." We've been playing top 40. I played 9 years before I had my accident. And 6 to 7 of that years was playing top 40. And I was just had my fill of top 40, playing somebody else's stuff all the time. Because you kind of had to follow theirs. Sure, you could deviate a little bit, but you can't deviate a lot. So I said, "Well, let me check with them." So the next practice we had, I talked to Chris and the guys. I says, "Are you guys going to ever want to do your own stuff?" And Chris goes, "Oh, no, man, we're doing really good. We're playing good. We got all these gigs," which we did. We had a lot of gigs. And I just said, you know, I says, "If you guys don't want to even try to attempt to make our own songs then I says, I hate to tell you this, but I'm done." I says, "Tim asked me to join with him," and I says, "I think I'm going to go." I says, "I'm just kind of tired of playing top 40, and I want to be able to do some of my stuff because I got ideas." So anyway, that's what happened.
So you were into the Blues Company, so it was past Ides of March time then.
Right. Oh yeah, that was all pure Blues Company. I knew the guys in the Ides of March, like Ebright, who was the drummer, and things like that, and Bob. You know,
you probably shared the stage with them so many times over the years, and just saw the evolution.
And then I remember we were playing Lansing, and we were back here, and we were playing out on Tuscola at the old Leisure Living. We were practicing. And I remember getting there early, and Tom and Ham were there, Tim and Ham. And Tom comes in, who was the original bass player. And he comes in, and he looked really like he was out of this world. And Tom was a skinny guy. His dad was some bigwig at GM. But Tom was a really nice guy. And he comes in, he's all shaken. And Tim goes, "What's going on?" He says, "I got my draft notice." He says, "I got to go." And he says, any way you're going to get out of it? He says, "No." He says, they want me down there. He says, I'm getting drafted. He says, "I'm not going." He just said flat out, "I'm not going." And that was the last I seen him. He packed his stuff up, took it home, and he went over to Canada. Never heard from him again.
Wow.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I'm real interested in exploring your ties to the old Leisure Living. We know of it as Leisure Living, but
right.
At that time it would have been the offices of Delta Promotions, right?
Yeah.
With Bill Kehoe.
No, this was before. After that was probably after. Leisure Living was still set up with the fireplaces in there. And all
okay.
That stuff. That was before. So he must have been after that.
Okay. Well, Kehoe would have been before Leisure Living.
Okay, well, that could have been B.
Yeah, so I know that, the building, of course, is still there.
Right.
And it's got those great big, I think it was a trucking company, so it had those big, big bays for trucks. Is that where you would practice?
We practiced in there.
And the guy that was running Leisure Living, he was happy to let you do that?
Some way Ham's dad owned part at Leisure Living.
Oh, okay.
And then he owned another business over off of Henry Street. I'm trying to think of the name of it. And he owned part of that business because, well, that's going way ahead again. But anyway, Leisure Living is where we practice in that.
Okay.
And that's what we did. And then I asked Tim, I says, what are we going to do? What are you going to do for a bass player now? He looks at me and he goes, you're going to play bass. I goes, what? So anyway, that week we practiced on bass, and we were playing at a club called Don John's down in Lansing. So I just practiced on the 4 strings and that, and I took all my gear down there, and we went to the music store and rented a bass.
So you were a guitar player before that? See, I thought you played bass this whole time.
No, he wanted me to play. He wanted me to fill in on guitar and some lead.
Okay.
And that. So anyway, we went to Lansing, did that. We played our gig Friday and Saturday night, and then on Sundays we always stayed for the free concerts, because that was the fun time. And they put a lot into the free concerts back then. You'd sit there and be playing, and you didn't even know it, but they had all the psychedelic stuff going on behind you and things like that.
Now, this is in Lansing?
Yeah, I was at the Cow Palace.
Oh, okay.
The old Cow Palace there. And that went on for a number of different months and that. And then all of a sudden when Tim's wife got pregnant, she was doing okay, and then she started having a few complications. So Tim didn't want to travel anymore because of that. So we quit playing out.
Did you get into any of the recording sessions that...
In Grand Rapids, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did the recording sessions there on the Timmothy album, played on all the songs but 2. And that's when I was working at a car wash while I was going to school, because it hadn't hit summer and I was going to school, so I just needed some money because we weren't playing out.
Okay.
And that's when I got my hand caught in the conveyor.
That was during Tim's solo record, though, right?
That was during the Timmothy album.
Yeah, the Timmothy album.
Yeah.
The Blues Company recorded. Were you part of those recordings?
No, not on the Blues Company.
Okay.
Yeah, see, those were done in, I think, Sparta, Michigan with Dave Kalmbach. Who, do you remember the studio in Grand Rapids, or who was running the sessions? Because there was a guy named Phil Roberts who was doing a lot of recording of young groups back in the day.
That might have been him. But before we went over there, and because Tim was handling all this, so before he wanted to go over there and record, we'd go to JBL studio and record. That's where some of these records came from, and we'd do a test recording there, and then if it sounded good, then it'd go on the album. So that's what would happen in that. So we went over there, and then we played, like Terry Bledecki rest in peace, was a great guitar player. You hear him on the album playing the solos. Larry Hadsell was a great acoustic player and things like that. So he was a teacher.
So on that Timmothy Ward record, the really homey recording sound, like the ones that sound like they're recorded in a room, are probably the JBL songs?
No, they were all recorded over there.
Oh, okay. Because there's different sounds on that record.
I know.
You could tell like a studio sound. You could tell like he's on his couch sound. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's really strange the way they did it over there, because Ham was the only one in the booth. Okay.
And this is what you were talking about just now, this story.
Yeah, okay. Over there. Ham was the only one in the booth because for some reason this engineer wanted to be able to control the way his stuff was. So everybody else was just out playing and that, and they mic'd everything.
Huh.
So
there is some JBL songs on that record, right?
No.
None
that I know of.
But you started recording there, and it sounded good. Then you just go re-record it.
It was a cheap way to record there, to test the recording, to see how we'd all gel and sound. And if it sounded good, then Tim says, "Okay, we'll go to Grand Rapids."
Wow! So you guys have actually other versions of those songs out there then somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Did John Lipinski run the sessions at JBL?
Yep. Yep, he ran the sessions at JBL at Raymond Street there, and you know, like I said, after I had my accident with my hand, I was just kind of fell off the scene for as far as everything went, because I was trying to take care of that, and I was basically done playing anyway at that time.
Did you get to have any of those ideas that you wanted to quit to become an original kind of musician? Did you get to utilize some of your ideas before you put it away for a while?
Yeah, with Tim was easy, because Tim knew the way he wanted stuff to go, but you could guide him into a little bit of something, and if it sounded good, he'd use it.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I had a bunch of melodies when we did the 2009 album, and I tried to talk him into doing some lyrics for some of the stuff, but he didn't want no part of it. I think he wanted the namesake of all him, you know. So I just kind of, that was it.
Tim Ward gave us his CDs from the 90s there, and you're on most of them, I think, if not all of them there, yeah. So you get to come around a little bit later and utilize some more of your ideas then a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I didn't even know I could play till about 15 years later. I tried switching to a left-handed playing, but because of my accident, I didn't have the rhythm in my wrist. It didn't flow like it should. So
give us a little background on your accident there.
Well, I was just working at a car wash part-time while I was in college, and I got my hand caught in the conveyor and tore the palm off and severed all the ligaments and arteries and everything. So it was over close to a year and a half before I got back after surgeries. And
that Timmothy Ward album came out during you were healing.
That was 72. Yeah. And I did all the songs before that came out, except for the two that Donnie Scherzer played on.
50th anniversary of that whole thing going down right there this year. Wow. Wow. But you also told me too, though, you guys, or you maybe on the road, cross paths with Meatloaf a little bit.
Oh yeah, this was back when we were still in the Shades of Night. If anybody remembers, there was a bar at the end of State Street. Now there's a putt golf course and all that stuff there.
I think it was the Log Cabin, wasn't it?
I got a picture on the disc for you.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because I've got the original thing from it. Used to be a 50s happy time bar for all our old parents that would go there and sing all the old 50s songs. But anyway, it was fun because we were high school. We thought it was cool to play in a bar, but you had to be out by a certain time because you couldn't do it. You know, it was illegal to be in the bar after 9 o'clock. So we played our 2 sets. I think we started like at 7 or something, and we're done by 8:30 or something. We played 2 quick half-hour sets or whatever. So we're packing up. So here comes Pete Woodman and the Popcorn Blizzard starting to come in. And all of a sudden, we're watching them and that stuff. And here comes this guy. And I don't know if you remember what the wardrobes were like back here, but they were the long 3/4 inch or 3/4 length brown leather coats with the belts. So we all had them. So here comes this scraggly guy in here with the long, skinny hair, you know, very thin. And he's coming in, he's just strolling in. And this is the middle of the winter. He's got sandals on, no shoe, no socks. So, you know.
Was it Mike Beatty?
No, it was actually Meatloaf, but I didn't know at the time it was Meatloaf.
Right.
Because we had to get out.
Meatloaf.
And then it wasn't until later on that I ran into him at Rhodeicher's one time and that, and he wasn't going by Meatloaf at that time, but you know, and then
was it Marvin Leela Day still? Isn't it real name? Yeah.
Yeah. So then sat there, and then when I started hearing Meatloaf, I goes, I've heard this guy before, and then for some reason one night it must have clicked in my brain. I woke up. I goes, he's the guy that was at the Log Cabin that night. And I always liked his songs and everything. Even when I do my walks and that in the morning, and that I'll put him on YouTube and that and listen to him.
Mm-hmm. You saw him also on I think a lot of people did, on the back of that truck in Midland. Or he did a performance on a semi or something.
Yeah, but that was, I saw him on there too. But then you got to remember too, the era that we played. Well, after I had the accident and quit, but everybody was still playing, and then few of us were supposed to go down to not Goose Lake, but Woodstock.
Oh yeah.
So we were driving down there, the car broke down. Well, you know, we didn't have great cars back then when we were kids. So got back home. All of a sudden they decided they're going to do Goose Lake. Hey, we're going to Goose Lake a few years later. So we all went to that, you know, and that was a great time there. Just as good as Woodstock, probably.
Yeah, that was definitely another Woodstock.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you first saw Meatloaf, that's probably right around the same time they recorded their single with Art Scheel.
Yeah.
And they were living in Freeland.
Yeah.
At Pete Woodman's family's home. So yeah, they
Wasn't Roadichers like their hangout? Or
well, yeah.
Road
We used to play there.
Yeah.
Roadichers originally was
early
a Chinese
70s.
restaurant.
I've
Right.
played there
Yeah.
back when they were open in the late 90s still.
Well, this was in the basement.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
It was just a funky bar down there.
Yeah, well, I think Roadichers was still, you know, serving Chinese food
Yeah.
too upstairs. Anyway,
Upstairs they were.
yeah, they were well known for their Chinese food.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause I used to go, that's how I met him the second time, went there with my parents.
Yeah.
And that. So,
so tell us a little bit about going around playing the shows with Tim. Did you do many solo shows with him, or not really get around to it?
what do you mean by solo shows?
Well, under the Tim Ward after the Blues
Yeah, oh,
Company
yeah.
was done, because I know his brother was a lot of the Blues Company too.
Bob booked us all over in Lansing. He found the gig. He was playing the manager then.
Yeah.
Because he was at MSU.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in business, so he would book us. He's the one that booked us at Don John's a number of times and things like that. He booked us at some of the weirdest places. One time it was Halloween. He said, I got this gig for you. He says, you guys got to come down and play. He said, but I'm not going to tell you where it is until we get there. So we take Tim and Ham and I, we get together, we go down, driving down there. We get there, meet up with Bob. He said, well, where are we going to go? Just follow me. So we follow him. He takes us. It's a damn funeral home. We have a Halloween gig at a funeral home. The one frat brother that was in Bob's fraternity's dad owned the funeral home. So they moved the stuff out, and that's where we played.
Oh yeah.
It's like that.
Perfect.
The weirdest thing. It's the weirdest place I ever played in my life.
Well, you know, there was a teen club over, I think it was in Holland, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. That was a former funeral home, and they called it the Edgar Allan Poe Club, you know, because of all the popularity of the Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe movies in the 1960s. So, yeah, that was not unheard of.
No, probably not, but it was for us.
Oh, sure.
But
So you had some crazy shows then on. You got up to your injury there, and tell us a little bit how you progressed through the 70s. You kind of didn't go the musician route. You went into broadcasting, didn't you, after that? Or
yeah, because, well, after I screwed up my hand, basically, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I tried to get a job once at Grinnell's, and the guy wouldn't have nothing to do with me because of my hand. So I walked out, and I thought, well, what can I do? So I was looking around, and I thought, well, I liked recording. I kind of had fun in the studio, so I thought, well, where can I go learn about microphones and recording? And then I found out Delta had a broadcast business. So I joined that and found out I liked it and got my degree there. And then I taught there for about 2 years under a government program to teach. And then there was a job opening at TV5 in '75, and I missed the first one. A friend of ours, Ruthie, and that got the job. And then I got the second one. I went in for my interview, and then my birthday hit, and 3 days after my birthday, they called and said, you're hired. So I started working there, and then it wasn't long. I worked my way up to a director, but that business was totally different back then from what it is now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Did you tell me too that when you were at Delta, you guys recorded all those shows that came through, like Alice Cooper and Kiss and all them?
Yeah, we recorded Blue Oyster Cult and all that. Well, Gary would know all the groups that came into Delta back then. You know, the Rascals, Harry Chapin. Matter of fact, Harry Chapin. I ran the lights for Harry Chapin concert, and I think it was 2 weeks later when he got killed on the bridge in New York.
Yeah.
and that.
Well, they had big names there.
Oh, yeah.
Kiss,
Blue Oyster Cult,
Yeah,
all kinds of them.
Paul Butterfield Blues Band
Paul
played there.
Butterfield Blues
Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, I saw.
Really?
Yeah.
I was there for that one.
Wow.
Elvis
I
Butterfield.
saw Iggy
Yeah.
Pop at SVSU and thought, this guy is the weirdest thing. That's when punk was just starting, you know, and he got to be the king of punk.
You didn't play with him then when he was in the Stooges?
No. He was playing with the Stooges, yes.
Oh, that was the Stooges. So you were already post.
I was
All right. You were before him.
I was way out of the business by that time,
Okay.
you know.
But I find it fascinating that you said all these shows were recorded by Delta. I would like to know where these shows are at.
I can guarantee you they're all in a dumpster. They were in a dumpster. They were all on 2-inch back then. 2-inch tape. It was just like TV5 when they switched over to, you know, recording on digital and that. They started dumping everything. Well, I grabbed enough. I've showed you a couple things.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I grabbed and I put onto digital and everything. You know, outtakes and different things like that from PM Magazine, or you know, Chuck Waters yelling at me because I screwed up the first night I was directing. And you know.
So did you work pretty closely with Dick Fabian?
Oh yeah. I worked on PM Magazine with Dick Fabian and Debbie Larson and all them, and you know, Chuck Waters was a great guy to work with, and Chet Ragosa and Peyton, you know, doing his cartoons. So, matter of fact, I was a pallbearer for Charlie Waters, and that him and I used to go to the Gears games because he was a big Gears fan. So he'd invite me to go with him to the Gears games. So we'd go to the Gears games, have fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Not too many of those guys are still around.
Matter of fact, Gene Riley just passed away.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Right.
Gene and
Big local loss there.
yeah.
My mother had a picture, an autographed picture of Muddy or Captain Water
Muddy, yeah.
in the den, and I wondered whatever happened to it.
I run to estate sales here and there, and I see all the Peyton's old
Yeah.
cartoons they're trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
sell. You know, that were made out to the public and that for somebody's birthday or something.
Right.
But it's a great memory. But that was a fun time back then. It didn't seem like it at times, but it was a lot more fun than it is now.
Well, now you got back into music a little bit later with the Dynamo Hum, right?
Well, I didn't get back into it. I kind of helped them, and I would take some of their pictures, but they got back together. The guys that, like Chris and Mark White and Tom Foote. Chris was the lead guy from the Shades of Night. Tom Foote was our drummer, and actually my cousin, and Mark White was the organ player. And then Don Scherzer and Benny Scherzer came aboard, and Randy Howell was a singer, not Randy Howell, the radio guy. And that but yeah, they did that, and they played. Oh my God, I don't know how long at Sandbar. They were the house band at the Sandbar, and I used to go there back after my accident. That's where I met with my first wife. But
no, you didn't play any music at this point.
I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't play. I didn't play a lick of music till about 15 years after the accident, and I started trying to. You know, I went back to 6th string and found out I could still play a little bit, but I couldn't play a lot. Like I couldn't do a full bar chord. I could do a half, and some of the stuff I couldn't play. And then Tim called me back in 2009, and he was recording another album. So he says, "Do you want to come aboard?" I said, "Sure." So he was funny because he'd take and he'd do the songs on CD, drive by my house, drop them off. There'd be 4 songs. And he'd say, "Okay, practice these. Here's the chords. Practice them." And he'd lay down a track, you know, so that I could play along and figure out which way I wanted to go. So then I call him 2-3 days later. He said, I said, "When do you want me to come over?" He go, "You're done already?" I said, "Well, if you want," I says, if you don't like it, I can come up with something better." "Well, come on over." So I'd go over there and I'd lay down a track. He says, "I've had a couple other bass players come over here and that." And he says, "You're the only one that knows what I want when I want it. It's just like when we used to play out." He'd give me that look of his on stage when he wanted to continue with something, and so I could follow it. But he says, these guys took 3 or 4 weeks to play a track before they thought I would like it. So we just sat there and did the stuff and did it in his basement.
Were you on any of his 90s things?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I know he did some CDs in the 90s there,
yeah,
too.
he did a few. I've got the CDs and everything like that, but at that time, I was still trying to get my hand working.
So your first true time back was 2009 then,
Yeah.
for that record
Yeah.
that he did. Was that the cover album that he put out?
Yeah.
The one before it, or around there somewhere?
More
Yeah.
covers than anything
Yeah.
else. He had, I think, 4 or 5, and then the rest were covers.
Huh.
But
And by then you were done with TV5. What time what year did you
No,
get out of there? No, you're still there?
I was still at TV5.
Oh.
I didn't quit. I didn't retire from TV5 to December 22nd of 2017.
Oh.
And that's when I left there.
Okay.
And that good thing I couldn't take it any longer.
Yeah.
I just couldn't take the producers anymore. All these young kids, they come up with 4-year degrees and think they know everything. So it was time to get out.
Well, you had also, I thought, a very fascinating bit of family history with your aunt.
Yeah.
So maybe we could kind of explore that a little bit.
Okay. Well, my aunt was the baby of the family. There were 8 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls. And she graduated like around 1956. And she wanted to go to Nashville. So I don't know how her parents let her go, but she got to go to Nashville. And she went down there, and some way she ended up being Elvis Presley's president of his fan club. And then I don't know the whole story how, but she became the personal assistant to Faron Young. And then Jim Reeves' personal assistant and her became best friends. There's books out by Faron Young and by Jim Reeves that I have that mention both of them. But anyway, Faron threw her a birthday party in this bar. And I've got the pictures. And it's so funny because I tried to get her to let me do a coffee table book, and she never would. But she passed away now about a year and a half ago. But all these pictures, all the people in the bar, shows Faron giving her a kiss on the cheek. There's little Jimmy Dickens giving her a hug. She's standing next to Johnny Cash. She's got Phil standing next to Everly Brothers, or the one. And there's all these big names. Patsy Cline sitting in the corner. And that, I think, was about 2 years later she passed away in the plane crash. And then just
Hank Williams.
Hank Williams and Slim Whitman and
That's a hell of a party.
oh yeah.
Well, this would be Hank Williams Jr. then, right?
No.
No. This
No,
was the
that
original.
picture.
The big, tall Hank Williams.
Well, but Hank Williams died in
50 or
1952.
51.
Well, you have to look at the pictures and that stuff.
Okay.
But
Well, unless it's someone that looks exactly like him. Because I saw that picture.
well, you guys can decide. I'm not going to fight about it.
Well, no, I'm just.
Anyway, there was all these people there that were there for her birthday.
Johnny Cash looks like a boy in the photos. You can't
Yeah.
tell it's him. And
I
Patsy
know it.
Cline looks so
No,
young.
people that know Johnny Cash, I'd show it to them. They says,
You showed me. I'm like,
yeah,
that's Johnny Cash. And it's, oh my gosh, he was a kid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just a kid in this picture.
And then June Carter was there and everything before her and Johnny hooked up. And
The early photos, they're amazing. You still can do the book on it. I mean,
there's not that many of them. That's all.
well, you got your own collection to talk
Yeah.
about, though, too.
Well, Faron Young was a pretty big country star.
Oh,
Well, 61.
A BA, that's for sure.
Yeah, 61 is when he had the big crossover hit. I think Hello Walls.
Yeah.
But he had he was also a songwriter, and I just covered this in the Elvis class that I taught. He wrote a song called "Is It So Strange" that Elvis really liked, and he wanted to record it, but the Colonel had set up this publishing arrangement where in order for Elvis to record a song, the songwriter had to give up 1/3 of his songwriting credit, and Faron Young was not into it. Even though, if Elvis recorded it, this would be in 1957, probably guaranteed to sell 1 million copies for sure. So eventually Elvis records the song, but it's like one of those, it's a ballad, but it was too late to get on the Loving You soundtrack. And so it was finally issued on one of those extended play 45s. and it's a great song. I don't know if you guys go on YouTube and listen to Elvis's "Is It So Strange" with the Jordanaires. It's kind of done almost like doo-wop style.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really a good song. And at the time, he was going with this girl named June Wanico, and it was their song. You know, apparently Elvis used to sing it to her. You can imagine this. And but anyways, by the time it came out, the Colonel had put a kibosh to the romance, and so anyways, it's an interesting song, well worth checking out.
Wow.
I have to check that one out.
Yeah, it would have been a big hit, I think. I think Elvis was probably intending it to be a single, and it just got caught up in the, the royalty arrangements and disagreements and negotiations, and it just didn't happen for him.
Yeah, I read Faron's book and that with my aunt in it and that stuff, and he was kind of a different guy at times.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But, he was one of the country guys that actually also got into movies.
Yeah.
And not like big Hollywood movies, but I guess it would be country music style movies. But, yeah, he starred in like 4 films. And, yeah, he was a go-getter. He had his hands in a lot of different things.
Yeah, he was a scrapper, and he was a go-getter, that's for sure, from what my aunt said.
Yeah.
What was your aunt's name?
Shirley Valliere.
Shirley Valliere, okay. For those that want to go look that up.
How long did she work with Faron?
I think I'm not quite sure exactly how many years she worked with him, but she married her husband, oh my goodness, I couldn't even tell you the year, but I think that's the reason she left, is because she married him and he was an Air Force staff sergeant or something.
So she probably had to move around a bit.
Yeah, then she had to move around a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the way she talked about it, she was with him for like, a good 3-4 years before she moved on. And
those photos you have are...
Yeah, did she get...
Luckily, someone took photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but in an event like that, there were probably going to be a photographer.
Well, the trouble was, a lot of the other photos, because I asked her, I says, do you have any other photos? She says, to be honest with you, she says, I take stuff in to go get developed, and they disappear.
Oh.
And, because people would know who on the photos and printed, and they'd steal all the photos.
Wow.
So, and they just say, oh, we lost it, or they didn't turn out in the batch, or something like that.
Yeah, of course.
Which is, back then, yeah, I could see him doing that.
Right.
Getting,
Did your aunt ever meet Elvis back in the day?
Yeah, she did. She told me she met him 2 or 3 different times, and that through the fan club. And
Right.
everything, so.
Yeah, and he was recording in Nashville at that time, too, so. Yeah, really. That's fascinating.
But, hey, she had fun, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, those photos you have in your history, love of history, but between music and broadcasting as well, led you to tracking down antiques and Michigan history books that you collect, which also led you to these Tom Bert photos. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Tom Bert photos I found is the estate sale from his family, and the people running the estate sale obviously had no clue what they were, or even didn't bother to track down or look up who Tom Bert was, because I got 11 photos, 8x10s, originals. I've got negatives from him. I got the base, and what cracks me up is the Bay City Times article was there, and why they didn't look over that and see anything about it. Because it's like, if you want to see what Tom Bert did, all you got to do is go look up Bob Seger's Rock and Roll Never Forgets Tom Bert, and you'll see all the people he did,
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean...
Dwayne Eddy, huge.
Anybody, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, he did the TV5, the TV Guide cover of Elvis.
Right, when Elvis died.
Yeah.
And I know I talked to Tom, and he said he had a half-hour conversation with Elvis.
Yeah.
Tom was interesting guy. He was not pushy at all.
I wish I would have met him.
And yeah, that was kind of the secret to his success. People felt very at ease with him. and he captured some great shots of artists. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So, and you've got the negatives.
I've got negatives of some of them, which I've already put down on the thing.
Yeah.
And
from Gordon Lightfoot to
Gordon
Dwayne Eddy
Lightfoot,
to
Gilbert O'Sullivan, Maureen,
Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, Joni Mitchell, all those.
Now, this estate sale, was this at Mrs. Bert's home? And,
right off Kosciuszko.
Yeah, right.
Right off Kosciuszko there.
Yeah. Yeah, Mrs. Bert was a real nice lady. Yeah, I'm really surprised. Tom was a great collector of things. He had an enormous collection of music.
Yeah.
And I don't know whatever happened to all that stuff. Because Mrs. Bert wouldn't have had that. Right. That was probably stored somewhere.
It could have been stored because I never seen anything. Like I said, when I saw all those pictures and I looked on the back, it's like, oh man, I started grabbing stuff up because they weren't in frames. They were just all the 8x10s.
Right.
So I grabbed them all up and then I saw stuff with the negatives in and I read it and I'm going, holy crap. Edgar Winter, Chris Christopherson at Civic Center and all these things. It's like, yeah, I'm grabbing that stuff up too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing. If you all the photographs that Tom took, automobile photographs for every company under the sun. Basically, he was the man to call. For those big glossy books that you would see in dealerships. But if you Google Tom's name, there's very little about him. Yeah. And nothing about, you think his family or somebody might want to sell some of these photos. I mean, they're,
I would have thought
incredible,
maybe his wife would have wanted to get rid of some of them.
Or he's got a son, too.
Yeah.
That would have...
because I've got there's a set of negatives from the Detroit Zoo in the early 70s that he took. And he had them marked off as to what this polar bear must have... Somebody either bought it or was for an ad or whatever,
Yeah. Well, Tom's brother Terry is a professional photographer as well. He's kind of followed in Tom's footsteps, but he hasn't. I don't want to say the word successful, but he's not as well known, let's say, as Tom was in the photography world. So
I came across an autographed album cover from Dwayne Eddy that obviously Tom shot to Tom at the Salvation Army here in Bay City. Yeah. A couple days before Christmas, about 3 years ago. I didn't know who Tom was, but I figured this Dwayne Eddy autograph was enough for me. It's in gold on this beautiful album cover.
Yeah.
And as we started the podcast here, Gary tuned me into this guy, Tom Bert, and all the photos in Dwayne Eddy, and I put two and two together. So Gary's got it hanging at the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah, well, I told him about the story of Tom bringing Dwayne Eddy to the 25th class reunion of St. Stanislaus High School. I mean, just so off the wall. A real good friend of mine, Wayne Przybylski, his wife graduated with Tom from St. Stan's, and so he was there. And wow. Dwayne Eddy.
That's crazy. I love that story.
Yeah, it's great. Well, that's the kind of guy Tom was. He, like I say, became friends with a lot of these people that he shot photos of. He was really a good guy. And
I think he did the George Heriter 45 that we did.
That was Terry.
Oh, okay.
3rd Street Bridge?
Yeah. Terry did that, but, that was a very stylish cover.
Right.
Really unique for
I got the 245s from George and.
Do you have the original paper cover that turns into a poster? Yeah.
Yeah, I got one of them had it.
Yeah, I mean, boy, for a local artist, that was quite a package.
I never got to see that original one.
Well, you had to check this out. Yeah. It's really interesting.
I still have a few copies.
Yeah, I've got a copy of it also.
George gave me a copy on 45, but I don't think the photo's in there.
Okay, he doesn't have the...
I don't...
It's inside the 45.
Oh, maybe it is.
And you fold it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check it, because I never peeled it out of there yet. I just kind of put it in my collection.
I think I got one with and one without. That had the 45 and the fold out. But...
Yeah, you've come across a lot of music and Michigan music history and played some. What's in the future for you, Lane?
At this point, I don't know.
Just enjoying it, grandkids.
You're enjoying the grandkids. Once in a while, I got a little studio downstairs, so I go down there and work on a melody. Wish I could find somebody that's a lyricist, but see what they think.
I think we've talked about that.
Yeah. Now, one day, I would come home from work at night, because I'd get out at 11, be home by midnight. I'd sit down and play a little bit. And my wife would go through. She says, "Aren't you tired of playing that song?" I says, "No, because I'm changing things up in it." And one night I come home, she says, "I got something for you." She hands me a piece of paper. It was lyrics to the song. I said, "How'd you write these?" She says, "I don't know, I just thought of them." I said, "Well, you're better than I am at writing lyrics." I said, I could change one word to make it sound better, but I was never good at writing lyrics like Tim was or something like that.
So you might have a solo record down the line here. We've talked about that. You never say never.
I did have her.
I got you out playing. You didn't think you'd do that.
No, I didn't think I'd do that. I didn't think I could, to be honest with you, with my hand. But no, I recorded it with her and that stuff. I have it at home.
Wonderful. You got a great collection of musical tools in that man cave of yours down there.
Yeah.
And your Michigan history books and photography, your walls of it.
I can show you all the ones I got that are signed.
Wow. Well, Lane, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being such a huge part and sharing your stories with us. That's what we're here for, and we wanted you back in January for Timmothy Ward's show, and you actually texted me that night about Meatloaf because he passed that week, and I'm like, you know what, we still got to get Lane on his own show here, so we finally achieved that, and thank you for all your years and all your knowledge, man, and we hope to keep going, man. Welcome back, come on back anytime, add what you can.
Okay, I will try to do that. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Lane, it was great.
Yeah, thank
you. Really.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of the hosts, Gary, Dr. J. Johnson, Sir Fred Rife, archivist and videographer Mike Beatty, and myself, this podcast wouldn't be here without Studio 163's Alan Garcia, the voice of MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, all of our guests, and you, the listeners.
You've been listening to the MMHP and the 989. From all of us at the podcast, we want to thank you for tuning in.
How do you pronounce your last name then?
We don't pronounce the French word. We just go Valliere.
Valliere. See, I had a teacher.
Valliere.
I had a teacher, Lois Valliere, spelled the same way at Essex.
Yeah.
And I always thought you were Valliere because I knew her name. So I said at the start of the show, then you said your aunt's name. Like, shit, I said is their name wrong?
Nah, don't worry about it.
I'm trying to get it right.
Hey, dude, I've been
Calls her. Yeah, exactly.
You know that.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. No, there's actually a Chateau Valliere, de la Valliere, or it's get rid of the L-E. It's de Valliere over in France. One day, hopefully, I'll see it before I die, but I doubt it.
Love it.
Well, I see Mike back there.
Yeah. Mike's taking his shoes off. Leave him alone.
You've been listening to Gordy too much.
I watch